Hey everyone, we're going to work on today we're going to work on everybody's favorite with math is word problems. Um, Word problems is basically the basic building blocks of algebra. We're going to work on lots of word problems through the course of this unit, this term, this year. So we want to kind of get you used to what we need to do. There are steps that help make them easier, which we'll go through. I know everybody hates word problems. I understand that. Hopefully I can make them a little bit easier for you and a little more enjoyable. The word problems, though, we can apply things to real life, so there are real life situations that you'll be able to kind of solve. You won't necessarily write equations and stuff to solve it in the real world, but you're still using the same concepts that we're going to kind of go over here to help you get to an answer in a real world situation sometimes. And it pulls together everything that we've learned so far: writing expressions, combining like terms, solving for x, putting sentences together. And like I said, there are steps that we can apply. They're on the next slide. We'll go through them. I'll show you how to work it through as well to help you with what we're looking for. So let's get going with our steps. The first step, what I tell students to do is to read the last question, the last sentence of the word problem first. That's what I want you to do. That tells you what you're trying to solve. Then you read the question, highlighting the information you feel you're going to need to get to the answer that they're looking for. Then what we're going to do is we're going to create let statements. So it's going to be let x equal whatever, let x plus 4 equal whatever we want it to do, however the statements are working out, so that we can define what we're doing. Then you have to set up the equation. We have to write a statement in math terms that kind of simplifies the word problem down into a math equation. The next thing you have to do is solve that equation. So we solve the whole thing for x. Then we have to write a solution statement. What I want to see is I want to see all our answers in a statement. You can't just have a word problem and then say x equals 6, because that's not telling me exactly what they were looking for. You need to say that the cost of the apples was $4 a bunch, something like that. Make sense? Okay, so this is a crazy example. It's from the ACT exam. It's the college entrance exam that runs in addition to the SAT. My daughter was doing a math review, and this was a word problem question that popped up that she had to kind of figure out. So, first step, read the last sentence. What are we looking for? We read the last sentence. They're looking for how many fruit trees. Whoops, sorry. We need the highlighter for that. I want the highlighter. They're looking for how many trees in the first orchard are producing fruit. I know just reading this now doesn't really give us a lot of context about what the information is, but we're looking at trees in some field that might be growing fruit. I'll change my highlighter color here to highlight some other stuff. Okay, so that's that. So now we go through and we read the question. Read the whole question, highlighting information we think we're going to need. So an apple farm, they tell us, has 2 rectangular orchards. We have orchards in our question, so we're going to highlight that. Each of the orchards are 500 feet long and 800 feet wide. I'm not sure I'm going to need it, but I'm going to highlight it because it's numbers and we're dealing with math and it's a word problem, so we might need it. Then they tell us each of the orchards is divided into 20 by 20 foot squares. Again, we might need it. I'm going to highlight it. Sometimes you're going to highlight stuff that you don't really need. And then every square contains exactly 1 apple tree. So at least now I know we're working with apple trees. Every square contains 1 apple tree. Then they tell us each tree is staked to be vertical. Each stake is 2 feet from the base of the tree along the level ground. A taut wire connects the stake at the ground level to the tree at a spot on the tree 5 feet from the ground. Last year, the farm's average yield per producing tree was 200 apples. Might need that. Then they tell us this year, 43% of the trees in the first orchard are producing fruit. So they've told us in the first orchard, 43% of the trees in the first orchard are producing fruit. Now, a Weisenheimer answer here would be to tell me that 43% of the trees in the first orchard are producing fruit and moving on. trying to get the right answer, but that's not what they're looking for. They're actually looking for a number tree count. So now we kind of have to figure out what we got. So we're going to create our variables, and basically what I'm going to do is we're going to say, whoops, let's switch it to purple so we can read it. Let x equal the number of trees. Or let x equal a tree. Better. X equals 1 apple tree. So that's our statement. We got to kind of figure out what we're looking at here. What this one's going to do is we're going to set up an equation. From what we see here, it's really hard to set up an equation. What we're really going to have to do, and sometimes you might have to do in word problems, is we're going to draw a picture. So I'm going to draw a picture up here of like one of the orchards. The first orchard really is all we're looking for. So they've told me it's 500 feet long, and it's 800 feet wide. But then they also tell me it's divided into 20 by 20 foot sections. So here we're going to have, and each section has a tree in it. So put a circle for a tree. Okay. So what we're going to have to do is, like, other than a word problem, just a different type of word problem, because we have to figure out how many trees are in the orchard. So we really have to divide 800 by 20 and 500 by 20 to figure out how many boxes there are. Because when you think of it, right, we're going to have all these little boxes that are all 20 by 20, let's say. That way. So there are tons of boxes in there. So if we did that, you'd go through and solve it. I'm really just showing you how to read the information. I'm not actually going to solve this one. You may actually see this later on as a different type of question, as an extra credit problem on an exam somewhere down the line. So then we'd solve the equation and would write a solution statement. When it all said and done, the answer for this question was 430 trees, but we'll get back to that, like I said, later on. So now we're going to go over actual examples of what we're going to work on in class and try to figure out. So we're going to be working on like 3 different types of questions. There's like picking a number questions, then there are going to be some consecutive numbers, and then we're going to do some rectangle dimension stuff too in this class, just to kind of figure out and work through these word problems. So our example here, read the last sentence first while they're trying to find the numbers. So I'm trying to find numbers. They tell us the larger of 2 numbers is 4 more than the smaller number. If the sum of the numbers is 74, find the numbers. So our let statement, I'm going to say let x equal the smaller number. Usually you're going to let x equal the smallest of what you're trying to find. Smaller number. Then they tell me, so we have the smaller number done. Then they tell me the larger number is 4 more than the smaller number. So for that, we're going to do let x plus 4 equal the larger number. Does that make sense why I did that? Does everybody see why I did that? They told me the smaller number is x, or a smaller number. They tell me the larger number is 4 more than the smaller number. So x plus 4 represents the larger number over the smaller number. So now we just set up our equation. X plus 4, we're adding the 2 numbers together, equals 74. I combine my like terms, I get rid of my parentheses, I get 2x plus 4 equals 74. You'll subtract 4 from both sides. We end up with 2x equals 70. Then we divide by 2. X equals 35. So that tells me what my smaller number is. My smaller number is 35. The bigger number is x plus 4. So that's going to be 39. Does that make sense? Sorry, hold on. They're making an announcement here in school.
Grade 6 students looking for a picture retake, please report to the cafeteria at this time.
So now we've solved our problem for x. We've got the two numbers. Now we need to do that solution statement, and that's just simply a statement. The two numbers, whoops. Two numbers are 35 and 39. You can always check 35 plus 39 equals 74. It works. Does that make sense to everyone? We're going to do 4 problems now. I want you to work on 4 problems. There are 2 on each slide. Enter your statements into Edpuzzle is what I'm going to be looking for you to enter. Okay, so here are the 2 of them. Take a few minutes, go through them, try to figure out what your let statements are, try to figure out what your equations are going to be, solve for the numbers, enter the answers that you have in sentence form. So the 2 numbers are, the highest and lowest scores are, and go on to the next problems, okay? Again, come back and check your work when you finish. Here are the answers to the first 2. We let x equal the small number. The second number was 3 times 7 less than 3 times the larger number. So that's 3x minus 7. We went through and solved it all. We found out that the 2 numbers were 17 and 44. Second one, we did the same thing. We found the lowest score. It was x. The highest score was going to be x plus 42 because it was 42 points more than the lowest score. Went through, solved our equation. We found out the lowest score was 56. We added 42 to that. The highest score was 98. So the test scores are 56 and 98. Make sense? Everybody seeing that? I know word problems are tough. All right, so here are 2 more. Go through these 2. Then come back. This one here is a little tricky. So if you can't get that one, that's okay. Just put in your answer for that one. Couldn't figure it out. And then come back and see how you did. Okay, so here we go. The first one, we let x equals Liz's money. We let 3x minus 1 equals Garrett's money because he had $1 less than 3 times as much money as Liz had. Their total together was $779, so we figured it out, and it was Liz had 45 and Garrett has $134. Like I said, the second one was tricky. We set x equal to the number of orange Skittles, and then the red Skittles was x minus 10 because they told us there were 10 less red Skittles than orange Skittles. So what we had to do is set up our equation. We set up our equation as x was going to equal because they told us the orange was twice the number of red Skittles. So we set that up as x equaled 2 times, in parentheses, x minus 10, because that was the reference for the red Skittles. We multiplied through, distributed the 2, then moved some stuff around. We found out that there are 20 orange Skittles and 10 red Skittles in the bag. I hope everybody was able to get that one. It was a little trickier in setting up the problem. I actually had to look up the answer to make sure I did it right. But they're the type of problems that you might see. Okay, the rectangle problems now. I'll go through an example of those. Sometimes you might want to draw a picture if it'll help you out. If not, that's okay. You can just go with what you need to know. I will draw a picture over here just to kind of show you what we're looking at here. Best I can. Okay, so the length of a rectangle, they're telling me, is 6 inches more than its width. The perimeter of the rectangle is 24 inches. They want to find its dimensions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let W equal the width. If I can, I'm going to use variables that help me remember what we're working with. So width is W. Then they tell me in the question that the length of the rectangle is 6 inches more than its width. So that tells me that this is W plus 6. So I can let W plus 6 equal my length. Everybody see that? Okay. From there now we have to remember that the formula for perimeter, what perimeter is, it's the distance around all 4 sides. The generic form, if we kind of do it quickly, is 2 times the width plus 2 times the length. That'll equal the perimeter. So now when I set up my equation, the perimeter they told me was 24 inches. So 24 inches is going to equal 2 times W for the width, plus 2 times W plus 6 for the length. Now we kind of distribute. We got to do some work here. 24 equals 2W plus 2W plus 12. Combine my like terms. I have 24 equals 4W plus 12. Subtract 12 from both sides. And with 12 equals 4W. So when I divide by 4, my width equals 3 inches. You have to label it what it is. So if my length is 3 inches, or the width is 3 inches, we add 6 inches to that, we end up with 9 inches. So then our statement is going to be the rectangle has a width of 3 inches and a length of 9 inches. That makes sense to everyone? So that's what you're doing for these next 4 problems, is what's my width, what's my length, formula perimeter, go through. All right, so again, as you do them, define your let statements, draw a picture if you need to, enter into Edpuzzle your solution statement. The width is X, or the width is this many inches, the length is that many inches. And then come back and check how you did. All right, so here we go with our answers. Again, perimeter is 2W plus 2L. So we're always letting W equal the width in these types of problems. Just makes more sense. So we let the first one, W equal the width, 4W plus 5 equal the length. It had to equal 90 inches for the perimeter. So we set up our equation, 90 equals 2W plus 2 times 4W plus 5. We did all our math. We found out that the width was 8 inches. Plugged that into the formula, the equation that we had for the length, and we found out that the length was 37 inches. Again, you can double check it. 37 plus 37 is 74. 8 plus 8 is 16. 74 plus 16 is 90, so it works. Same thing on the next one. W is width. 2W minus 3 was the length from what they told us. Went through and solved. We found the width was 4. The length was 5. Again, that would work if we added them up. Hoping you're getting these. I know word problems stink. We have to work through them. Here's your next 2. I think you know the drill, the rules. Enter the statement into Edpuzzle for your answer. And then come back and check. Okay, so here we go. Again, width is W. 2W minus 5 was the length in that example. Width ended up being 11. The length ended up being 17. Again, W for width. X, or that should be W plus 7. Sorry about that. That should be W plus 7. So W plus 7 was the length. We went through and figured out width was 13, length is 20. So the rectangle has the width of the rectangle is 13 inches and the length is 20. Does everybody see that? Makes sense? We're good with these. All right, the next thing is just consecutive numbers. These are really, see them all the time. And when they talk about consecutive numbers, you got to kind of figure out what we're looking at. So I'm going to do a quick little lesson. When we're looking at consecutive numbers, my example here is we're looking for 2 consecutive numbers. So my let statement of let X equal the lower number. So X is always going to be your lowest number when you're doing these types of problems. Let X plus 1 equal the higher number, because we're talking consecutive, so we're going up by 1. So X plus 1. My example here is consecutive numbers. Sometimes you're going to see consecutive even numbers, okay? Or consecutive odd numbers. Even though we're going even and odd, that they jump 2 spots really, So that's plus 2 to get to the next consecutive odd number. The way that the problems work is we're just identifying two numbers consecutively, so you can still just add 1. So if I was doing 2 consecutive even numbers, it's still going to be I'm just adding 1 to it. It's going to give me the right numbers. Okay? So here in this example, we have, I'm sorry, that was totally incorrect. We're going to add 2 to it with even or odd. I don't think I did that right though now that I'm looking ahead. Let me just jump ahead for a minute. I apologize. Let me look at the answers for these. Is that X plus 2? Sorry, my bad. Totally misspoke there. So when you're talking odd and even, you're going to add 2 rather than add 1 because they are jumping. Just think of it. We go from 2, the next consecutive is 4, so we jumped 2, not 1. Again, I'm sorry. Pause here for a minute to make another announcement. Okay. So for our example, though, we're going consecutive numbers, so we're just adding 1 because our numbers are going to be right side by side. Our statement then is going to be x plus 1 equals 123. Whoops, 23, not 33. Equals 123. So 2x plus 1 is going to equal 123. Subtract 1 from both sides. You get 2x equals 122. Divide by 2. So x is going to equal 61. Our x plus 1 is going to be 62. I look really quickly. 61 plus 62 is 123. So our answer then statement, the numbers are 61 and 62. Sorry for the confusion on the even and odd. Just remember, when it's even or odd consecutive numbers, we're adding 2 rather than 1 to the second number. But x is always going to be your lowest number. All right, so here's, again, 4 problems for you to try. Again, I'll let you know here on this one, we're talking let x equal, because they're looking at even numbers, so x equals lower, x plus 2 equals the higher. And then you can set up your equation to get the answers, okay? Enter the statement into Edpuzzle, and then come back and check your work. So here we go. We found x is the lower number, x plus 2 is the higher number, like I said. Set up our equation, x plus 2 equals 54. Went through and solved it. We found x was 26. So the higher number is going to be 26 plus 2, or 28. The next one was consecutive odd numbers. The odd numbers added up to 128. Again, it's x and x plus 2 for the lower and the higher odd number. You went through and solved it. We found x equaled 63. So the other number was 65. And they do add up to 128. Is this making sense? Everybody sees this? Okay. Last two. Last one's kind of hard because we're actually looking for 5 consecutive places. You'll have to figure out what you're doing there. But again, enter your statements into Edpuzzle when you finish, and then come back and check and see how you did. Okay, here we go. The first one is 3 consecutive odd numbers. So it was x, this is the first number, excuse me. X plus 2 was your second number, and then x plus 4 was going to be your third number. Solved that all through, and we found out the numbers were 17, 19, and 21. Okay. The last one. They were looking for cross-country runners. They get 1 point for finishing in first place, all the way up to 16 points for last place, blah, blah, blah. In the latest meet, the boys cross-country team scored 55 points. They then said that the runners finished in order, one after the other. So we're looking for 5 consecutive places. So again, we let the first number equal x, the lowest number was x, and then it was x plus 1 for the next place, x plus 2, x plus 3, x plus 5. So when you kind of think of it, we needed to have 5 places. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have our 5 numbers, so we only added 4. You're always adding one less than what you're looking for. So you had, then your statement was x plus 1 plus x plus 2 plus x plus 3 plus x plus 4 equals 55. Combine all your like terms, 5x plus 10 equals 55. We found out that the lowest runner finished in 9th place. So it was 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and 13th place. Hope that made sense to everybody. I know it's hard to do word problems learning from home. Come in on Monday if you have any questions on the word problems. We'll kind of do a quick review as part of the test review. Again, that's what we're working on tomorrow. You will have a review packet out in Google Classroom. It's going to be big. Don't get overwhelmed by the number of problems. You have a couple of days to finish it. It'll be worth a 40-point homework grade as well when you upload all your finished work to Classroom so that I can see it. I will also put an answer key out sometime during the day on Monday. I actually may pass it out to you guys in class on Monday. So you have it so you can check your work just to see how you did. And then the test is Tuesday and Thursday. You will take the written portion of the test in class on Tuesday. The online portion will be at home on Thursday. So that's where we are there. Actually, I might change that and do the online portion on Wednesday. That might work. I'll let you know Tuesday what's happening there. Just know that you're going to have to take an online test at some point. And we will go from there, moving on to linear equation stuff, which gets into a little more detail of algebra. So have a good day. I will talk to everyone later.